You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Usually, if you want to bury bad news, the old rule of thumb in media is, or PR, if you want to bury bad news, you release it on Friday after 3 o'clock. Because by that point, everybody's punted, right? They're off to their weekend, and nobody's really paying attention to the news cycle. So color me surprised when on Friday, my wife and I are at dinner with some friends, and then my phone starts to buzz that the Blake Baker news got released on Friday night about 8 o'clock. If you were here last week, we talked a little bit about it. Things had gotten really sincere on Thursday with Blake Baker. The last I was told Thursday night was that Blake Baker had his LSU offer. Eli Drinkwitz had gone to meet with Baker to try to convince him to stay at Mizzou, and Baker wanted the night to sleep on it and think about it. So I was anticipating sometime Friday morning, lunchtime, we'd see that release, but in the end, it would be Friday night. And this is certainly not news that you want to bury. This is really good news. The only odd thing about it is the timing. LSU hires Blake Baker away from Missouri. They're going to make him the highest paid assistant coach in the country. He'll make $2.5 million a year. I'll remind you, that's what LSU paid Dave Aranda after Aranda was courted by Texas A&M back in 2018 to go be the Aggies defensive coordinator. LSU got him to stay. They paid him $2.5 million. Blake Baker had gotten a raise at Mizzou that was going to pay him. So the contract that he had just agreed to before the Cotton Bowl was going to pay him $2.1 million. LSU offered $2.5 million. So the money honestly was negligible. Like, that's when you're talking about, I'm not going to sit here and diminish $400,000, but when you're talking about the scope and scale of which we're discussing, it's a relatively negligible amount of money. That's not the thing that got Blake Baker away from Missouri. The money, as we were told last week and talked about, was comparable. There were three things, like we talked about on Friday. Number one was family. Blake Baker's wife is from Mandeville. She went to Fontainebleau. She played soccer at LSU. She was an all-SEC soccer player. There's something to be said for coming home, and y'all know if you're married about mama being happy. So that was a big part of it. Number two, you can win a national championship at LSU. You can't win a national championship at Missouri. Missouri in its history has literally never won a national championship. I tweeted that on Friday. There were a lot of Missouri fans who didn't like that, saying Missouri was objectively better than LSU, to which I reminded them LSU objectively beat Missouri in Como this year in a season where Missouri won the Cotton Bowl. LSU and they threw a ticker tape parade. LSU won 10 games and fired most of its defensive staff after winning 10 games. There are just different standards between the two programs, and it's obvious to anyone who's honestly willing to be honest with themselves. And then the third is the opportunity to be a head coach. Blake Baker comes to LSU, takes over this defense, which was historically bad. If the defense improves dramatically or even by 50%, then Blake Baker gets the credit, and he's on everybody's short list to be a head coach. So he's 41 years old and has had a pretty meteoric rise, not that dissimilar from Dave Aranda's rise as a guy in his 30s as a defensive coordinator. Baker went to Louisiana Tech with Manny Diaz. When Manny Diaz left, Baker was promoted to defensive coordinator at Tech. Then Diaz hired Baker as his defensive coordinator at the University of Miami, where he had defensive play calling duties taken from him, and Diaz handled that. And after that was the year Baker came to Baton Rouge. He spent one season in Baton Rouge under Durante Jones in 2021. And then obviously Brian Kelly didn't retain Blake Baker. And then he was at Missouri for the last 2 years, where Missouri's defense went from 133rd in the country to 25th this past year. So there are a lot of reasons why you should be excited about Blake Baker. He's a young guy who's got a really good track record. And I could sit here and X and O because I think a lot of people have asked me, a lot of people have asked about Blake Baker and the style he's going to run and all that stuff. What I would say more than anything, listen, LSU is going to fix the defensive talent. There were two really big issues LSU had this year: players and coaching. We ran through it. You didn't have a lot of NFL talent on your defense this year, flatly. But you should have been better than you were. That's no excuse for being historically bad, and that falls on coaching. LSU's already working to fix the defensive talent, right? You did it in the signing class. You're going to the transfer portal. You've got Jair Brown at corner. You've got a couple of safeties that are coming in. Sean Washington's coming in from JUCO. Is going to help you at defensive tackle. Like, you're going to fix the talent issue on the defensive side. That's what Frank Wilson's there, and you've got a great staff that's recruiting really well and is going to continue to do that to make sure you get the players. But more importantly, I would say, is the culture. And it doesn't necessarily mean that players have to like the coach, but you got to respect the coach. And it was clear at the end these players didn't like or respect Matt House, and that's the reason primarily why things happened so quickly after that bowl game when we saw the video of Mekhi Wingo. I mean, just look, y'all, at the difference between what happened with Matt House being fired and Blake Baker leaving. For example, Matt House gets fired. Harold Perkins. The Rabbits got the gun. You saw that tweet. Braden Swinson literally kicking rocks. We talked about the video with Mekhi Wingo refusing to shake Matt House's hand. That was very representative of how these players felt about their defensive coordinator. On the flip side, look at the response from Missouri when Blake Baker announced he was leaving. Eli Drinkwitz tweeted a picture of he and Blake Baker smoking cigars after their Cotton Bowl win. Thank you, Blake, for all you did for Mizzou football. Your help in all we've accomplished cannot be denied. I enjoyed every minute of our journey together, but it's time for you to go on a new path. Godspeed. I wish you well. All class there by Eli Drinkwitz, but then look at what Blake Baker replied. My brother for life, going to miss you more than anything and so proud of what we were able to accomplish. Thank you for making me a better coach, father, and man. Mizzou football and Como are special, and we will miss it dearly, M-I-Z. Again, that's between the coaches. But then, what about the players? Ennis Rakestraw, one of the best players on that Missouri defense, by the way. There was a fan that was going after Blake Baker. Ennis Rakestraw replies to that fan. Nah, none of that respect. He came in and changed a real bad run defense. Without Baker, a lot of people would have left last year. One of the GOATs, if you ask me. We bought in and went 11-2. Name the last time we did that or won a bowl game. Number 25 defense. Thank you, at Coach Blake Baker. Baker replied, couldn't have been great without guys like you. Do you understand, like, the illustration of the difference? You have players from Mizzou, after their coach leaves for another job, going on social media, taking up for him against fans and lauding him, whereas the complete opposite was true at LSU when Matt House was shown the door. Again, I'm not saying coaches have to be players' best friends, but there has to be at least a synergy and an understanding to where those two can accomplish something together. I want to play this for you. This is back from the 2021 season, the year when Damone Clark really developed into not just a great linebacker at LSU, a season when he probably should have been the Butkus Award winner. But he just played on a very bad football team, and so a lot of his effort went unknown. This was Damone Clark that year talking about his position coach, Blake Baker.
He's more than just a coach to me. You know, he's like a father figure. He's like a big brother. I mean, like, whenever I need Coach Baker, if I need anything, I know Coach Baker's always there, and it's just his way of interacting with us. He know the type of guy that I am, and he likes to have fun with it too, And when you have fun when doing things you love to do, there's no problem with it. But if you uptight all the time, then it'll be, it'll be a tough job.
Damone Clark, like a father figure. There's a tweet from an account. I don't know this account, and I don't know, they didn't credit this tweet to anybody, but it's Tiger Stripes from Durante Jones, who was the defensive coordinator that season in 2021, talking about Blake Baker. Quote, Blake Baker, is a great hire and an even greater person. Now, again, I don't know where that quote is attributed. It's Durante Jones, but it doesn't say when or where, and that's not attributed to any media outlet. But the point is, this is a very clear illustration of the difference of opinions between these two men, what you had and what you now have with Blake Baker. Again, I don't know X and O-wise what Blake Baker is going to do day one to make LSU better. He did it at Mizzou. He's going to be fine, I'm sure. And LSU is going to get better players. But more importantly, I think you're going to get better buy-in from these players for Blake Baker than you had. And I'll say it again. You do not need to be elite defensively, but you need to be good enough. In 2020, when Bo Pelini was here and that defense was horrendous, you had NFL players in that defense, y'all. Stingley, Ricks, Ward, Jacoby Stevens, Cordell Flott, Dwight McGlothern, Damone Clark, Ali Gay, Neil Farrell, Jaquelin Roy, B.J. Ojolari, Apuaika. You had NFL players on that defense in 2020, and you allowed 35 points a game because nobody respected the coach, and the coach didn't know his talent and didn't put those athletes in the position to make good plays. You fix the talent, and you get them playing hard for their coach, you will dramatically improve defensively, and I think LSU is going to be able to do that under Blake Baker. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.